Thank you. Thank you, team. Best wishes. I spotlighted you, Ruchi.
Arunesh, I'll tell you when to move to the next slide. So,
Yeah. People are joining. We will start on time. Whoever is joined, okay?
let's give it maybe 1 minute.
Yeah.
11:01.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. Absolutely.
Let's start. It's 11:01. Namaste and welcome everyone. We at Cohhe, first of all, we want to thank each one of you who's here today and or has supported us in the past for this caste motion. Some of you might be thinking, what on earth am I doing here on a Saturday morning? Well, we are here to talk about, what happened at the TDSP cast motion. We've been a lot of people have been reaching out to us. They've been calling us to find out what happened, and besides, there's a lot of misinformation that is there in the media, both the social media as well as the mainstream media. So, as an organization, as an Cohhe, as an organization who took the lead on this work, we did all the groundwork, so we kind of have an obligation to the community, and we want to inform the community and debunk all the false narrative that has been going on. So that's what we are doing here on a Saturday morning. So thank you all for coming. uh, Before we go ahead with the webinar, I just want to introduce my fellow panelist of the Cohhe team. Ragini Sharma ji, she's our president. A lot of you may have already, you might know her for the work that she's been doing in the field of education. We also have Vijay Jain ji, who is our secretary. We also have Arunesh Giriji, who is our treasurer. Deepthi Jolly and myself, we are also part of the board at Cohhe. Uh, Ragini ji, Vijay ji, Deepthi ji, and myself will be the key presenters for today's webinar. And Arunesh ji will be helping us. He's helping us in the background with the technology. We also have a guest in today's webinar, Veda Mahabir ji. He's a Caribbean Hindu, and he has written 2 books on Hindu heritage. So that's a little introduction about the panelists and who all are here. Let's go to the next slide. Um, so I just want to talk about little bit before I go through the agenda, the rules of engagement. I want to highlight that, Cohhe stands in solidarity and is against any form of discrimination, including the caste. And, that's why we oppose this motion. And as a matter of fact, Hindu Dharma teaches that everyone is, we are born equal, we are divine, and we firmly believe in that. Other rules of engagement is that this webinar is for an hour, and we'll have some time at the end to look at the questions that you may have. Feel free to enter any questions that you have in the Q&A available. And we have disabled the chat feature for now. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the agenda for today. We will talk about, what's the original motion, what was it all about, how were they planning to implement it. We'll spend some time speaking about why did we object to it, and how did we get all the ducks in the row to basically defeat this motion. And then we'll also talk about how TDSB amended this motion and passed it on March 8, couple of days ago. And then we'll spend some time on how there's a lot of misinformation in media, there's a lot of defaming of the community and other members, there's a lot of threat and gaslighting. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll have Veda ji share some his perspective on this issue, being a Caribbean Hindu. And we have some next steps for the members here, for the community here. And then we look at question and answers and some closing remarks. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the motion that was passed on February 8, like introduced on February 8, sorry, at TDSP board meeting. Trustee Rajakula Singham and Trustee Anu, they came up with this motion. So basically they were saying that the caste oppression is experienced in South Asians and Caribbeans, and there is a a rise in those cases. Although when somebody asked them if they have seen any evidence, they said that they don't have any evidence or any data. However, still they went ahead with introducing this motion, and the plan was to kind of plan was to basically include some activists who self-identify them as Dalits and they are oppressed. The plan was to work with them and basically build a framework, build like a plan or a framework to basically address this caste-based motion. And the plan was to teach this at a school level, to the staff, to the teachers, to the students. So that was the plan, and that is why basically we opposed to this motion. So now I will pass it on to Vijay ji to talk about why did we object to this motion. Over to you, Vijay ji.
Thank you, Ruchi ji. Yeah. So as I think what the slides talks about is pretty much like what you have seen in our letter, what we gave to TDSB trustees, what the same points what we have put in our petition also, which most of you have signed, not only signed, but you gave to the other people, you made other people to also sign that. So and those are the same points, and I'm going to just quickly, in a minute, I'm going to quickly talk about what was our objection. So TDSB did not have a single complaint for caste oppression, not a single complaint. There was no verified evidence of caste oppression in Toronto, for that matter in Canada, right? So though what they were claiming that, as you saw what Ruchiji mentioned earlier, the motion said there was a rise in documented anti-caste discrimination. So there is no complaint, there is no evidence. Still, the statement was that rise in documented anti-caste discrimination. Further to that, what our point was that, what point number 4 I put here is, so existing policy that covers the caste oppression under place of origin, ethnic origin, and ancestry. So it covers that. I mean, let's say that if there is at all anything no, so this factor, the existing human right laws that cover all of that, then why we need this, like the caste as a separate category? Then what the plan they had to do caste census of students, staff, that the plan was very divisive and very offensive. I mean, how if somebody asks you your caste, and then people are kind of okay, like, I mean, the kids when they go to school, they are kind of divided now. Okay, like I'm Brahmin and I'm this and I'm that. We don't want that. So that the plan itself was very, very divisive, and that's what our main objection for that. Plus, so this whole caste thing was applied to only South Asian. So otherwise, if you look at that, anything is there, it's not for one group, it's for everybody. However, the caste thing was particular thing for South Asian. So what it does that it singles out South Asian as inherently bigoted, stereotype as oppressors. So that's the main objection what we are asking here, what we raised. And plus, they did such a big thing, no consultation from parents and community, be it Hindu, be it Jain, be it Muslim, be it Christian, or community groups or parents. There was no consultation. They just, activists approached them and they went ahead basically writing that motion, which is one of our main concern. There was no provision of due process or fairness in application of policy. This is very, very important. I mean, who is upper caste? Who is lower caste? Who is caste privilege? Who is not? What constitutes that? I mean, like anybody can say, oh, I mean, your vegetarian diet is also called as kind of a casteism. That's like a little bit surprising. There were many points what you wear, what you sing, and they were not even limiting there. So the due process was something like was completely, there was no provision there, and that is where we have been asking for objection. Plus, now Tdsb, we all know that there's already lack of resources. We see that so many problems happening in Tdsb. I mean, there's gun violence and there's security issues. Though, so they want to spend the Tdsb board's scarce resources on a non-issue instead of spending on priority areas. For example, the black students, indigenous students, or even the safety issues. Instead of spending money on that, I mean, you are spending money to create an issue. That's exactly what we asked as an issue. Plus, this motion itself that creates prejudice and leads to discrimination and hate against South Asian. So, in this motion, what you see there, right? It's only for South Asian, which is completely bad. So that were our objections on the petition which you all signed. And now, with those objections, the next slide will talk about how could we get this motion defeated. So, Arunesh, if you can open up the next slide. Yeah. So what did Cohhe do? And most of you were part of this whole the juggernaut, right? So when the first time when this motion was, the original motion was passed on February 8 in their policy and governance meeting, what Cohhe did, same day Cohhe came to know, because our Cohhe director, Cohhe president was a part of, it's part of a Tdsb Hindu Heritage Committee. That's how we came to know immediately. And our role, the way we worked on, we took a lead. We collaborated with several local organizations like Canadian Hindus for Harmony and several others, right? And we mobilized the community's response. Very first meeting, we invited Hindu American Foundation President Suhag Shuklaji. She was very kind, and she joined the very first meeting where we had many local organizations joining that call and taking guidance from her, because she has running this. She did advocacy and many places in US. Cohhe board was in contact with few trustees and board chair constantly all throughout. So that's one thing what you have seen throughout the journey. We submitted thoroughly reviewed and legally vetted letter to all trustees. So later what we submitted to trustees on the same thing was in our petition also. It took hundreds of hours to write that letter because it was a completely legally vetted, not a single, and you see that everywhere, nobody's questioning our letter because we did not have any flaw there. Then we created a teams of 22 wards. So Toronto has 22 wards, and our approach was that we wanted community or parents and residents or constituents reaching out to trustee. End of the day, trustee were supposed to make a decision to basically pass this in a board meeting or not. Right? So our whole idea was to, or our whole approach was to our parents and community reach out to trustee, convince the trustee how flawed that motion was, and then get that motion defeated in the board meeting. And you see that we created teams of 22 wards, mobilized parents' reasons in each ward. We sent numerous personal emails. Our approach was that send personal emails, right? And phone calls. I know some people. I know one person made 40 phone calls. You can imagine that. So they were making phone calls after phone calls and leaving the voicemails so that trustee can like hear our concern and we can influence them and we can convince them how bad the motion was. When we realized that our adversaries, that activist group, they had sent hundreds of emails from academia, through the ecosystem. That is when we realized that okay, I mean this personal touch is one thing, but we need to create a petition, and we immediately created a petition, and we channelized all the community channels, and you could see that within a week we got more than 5,000 signatures on that petition. Our petition was in all news media. That petition has made them think, made them realize that, because our emails were buried under, I think somebody else was sending all those automated emails, and our emails were getting buried. But then the petition had a much value, and then media was looking at the petition. The trustees were looking at the petition very, very closely. You can see that we have several interviews on prominent YouTubers, like you saw our interview, Ragini gave interview on T Gurus. We went to some radio talk shows to kind of create education for the community. We created a very powerful 4-minute video. Same points what I was talking earlier slide. Those points we put in a 4-minute video and we circulated that, and that created much education among community. Trustees saw that video too, and that made them think. We organized a demonstration on March 8 at Tdsb office. 40 plus people participated there on a weekday. It was the day of Holi. It was festival day, but people came there on that day, which is and we thank everybody who showed up there, all the organizations, the people. Much thanks to all them people. And Cohhe board, all board members, they were there in the Tdsb meeting until 11 p.m. We left there around 11:30 to show that our presence, our concern, we did not just disappear from there. From our adversary side, nobody was there. However, the trustees were reading the messages from our adversaries and the trustee who voted in favor of the motion. But we do want to show our concern. We stayed there that night. That's the role Cohhe played, and because of all that thing, all the momentum, we could bring the community together. What you see that is on the next slide. I think I will pass on to Ragini ji. What all our momentum make it happen, and then you will see how they got changed, and Ragini ji is going to explain further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Thank you for outlining how hard our board has worked along with our other organizations and the community that came out. It's been an incredible movement. And one good thing about all this that has happened is that it has woken up the Hindus, and to know what is happening in the background without our knowledge. So I want to mention, before I come to this amended motion, is that in addition to what Vijayji said, was that the Dalit community activists who are behind this motion, they were meeting with the board for 1 year. Can you imagine, for 1 year, the board and the staff had been meeting with various community members, activists, and we didn't even know. That was a huge shock to us when we found out on March 8th that it had actually come to the board even earlier. And they were uncomfortable with it because there is a lot that they don't understand. So it had come back. So that's just a background. So because of the pressure that we put onto the trustees with our letters, with our phone calls, with our personal one-to-one discussions, like I personally spoke with the chair of the board right in the beginning. At that time, the flood of emails hadn't come up, and you could even at least reach them. And there was a huge level of discomfort with the action plan of implementation, because they could see that they didn't understand what it was. They felt obviously, they felt sympathy for someone who had brought this issue to them, especially being the two trustees. So, but they didn't feel comfortable with all that they were saying. So this was the amended plan. I have to tell you from the insider view that even while we were demonstrating in front of the TDSB office, they were still discussing the wording of this motion that actually passed. I have a draft of it. This is the draft that was sent to me by one of the trustees that they are looking at. And as you can see, we've scratched out a part of it, because that behind that scratching out is parts of Africa and East Asia. And I told them, you mean everybody who is not white is a casteist? Is that what you're going to say with this caste oppression? And I think they had another thought, and they scratched out parts of Africa and East Asia. This is how little thought and care has gone into this motion and passing of this motion. It's only because of pressure from these activists that this has been ran through. They agreed that this is not properly understood by them. They could see that they don't know how to implement it because they don't know what it is. So what passed here is also, we're not happy with it because it again singles out, it says, whereas there are documented cases of caste-based discrimination in Toronto, where, one or two they mention in if you watch the news, there's Gurpreet and there's a few other people that come up. And it's still saying that caste oppression is experienced by various faith communities in South Asia and Caribbean. It's still singling out our community. It's a micro community. Imagine 20% apparently of students are South Asian and Caribbean, and which means they're from all over. We don't agree to this term South Asia. It's the Indian subcontinent. That's the one that we propose. But look at it, that without any evidence, this motion again says all these things. And then, like Vijay talked about this a little bit, they are identifying caste by last name. So recently there was an interview with this person in a Punjabi show, and this person actually mentioned Shukla, Sharma, and Jain as our last names, that we are oppressors and castes. So they are using last name, family occupation, diet. If you're a vegetarian, then you're a casteist, because this is about purity. But area of origin. So if you're from India, you're a casteist. So this is creating so much prejudice. We do not agree to that language, and that's why we complained. And the main point of this amendment was that they dropped the implementation plan. As you saw in the previous slide, they were going to implement in the classroom. They were going to teach children that South Asians are inherently bigoted and you need to police them. They would use this caste lens to if there was a conflict in the school, they would ask the children, what is your caste? They're using this caste lens above everything and trying to force this lens on the whole system wide imagine in a schoolyard, in a classroom, staff training. This is what they were going to teach everyone. So that plan was dropped, and we're very, very glad that was dropped, but we're still very, very unhappy that the board has passed this motion. So since they didn't understand what caste is or how to actually understand who's higher, lower, the whole complication, we explained to them that we need due process. And who is it in the TDSB that would be able to make those decisions? So they backed off, but still out of respect for the trustees, for bringing out, pointing that there is a possibility that there could be, well, they brought one or two cases, but they said, it's very hard for the school board to turn its back to a group that's come and say we are oppressed. So naturally they had to acknowledge it. I'm not happy with the wording of this, but I can see where they're coming from, and we are opposed to the language of it. We have never opposed, like we said in the beginning, we've completely in solidarity with Dalits or any oppressed group. What we're saying is, How it's to be done is a problem that we are addressing. So the way this is written, this is singling out, and that's what our complaint is, and creating divisions into the community where there is no problem. We have a concern about that. So the outcome of this amended motion was that the director has been asked to file an application to the Ontario Human Rights, and so that they can let them know how it is to be addressed in the school system. And then once they hear back, then they will come back to their committee and figure out how they need to respond. So this is all an unknown. So basically it's off the table from TDSB. I have to say personally, from having spoken to staff and to the trustees, I'm deeply concerned that they already have a prejudice. They have already stereotyped. Based on what the activists have told them for the past 1 year, they've already got a stereotype about our community, and they're already prejudiced towards our community. And I'm really deeply concerned about what that will look like for our students when they are in school and the teachers have been told to use that lens when looking at what happens in the classroom. So thank you for this slide. Can we go to the next one? You know, one thing that's really, really concerned me is how, just for raising our concerns about protecting our children from being targeted and called out as bigots and oppressors in the school, and our teachers, South Asian teachers, to be cast in that light. You know, we are being called supremacists. There's the Wire, everybody knows. There's an article in The Wire recently, and Professor Jangam called me in person as a Hindu supremacist. Ashok Swain, I think people who know, he's this is the you know, the group. They've activated their toolkit and their whole machinery to come after little Cohhe group with our small local community, fighting against local issues right here in Canada. Let's not forget. They're talking about India, we're talking about here in Canada, where the caste consciousness is just not there. Our children don't know their caste mostly. We don't talk about caste, and this is not an issue in our community, yet these people who are out, important people in their, on their, you know, side, they're calling us, they're saying things like there's no such thing as Hinduphobia. And for those who talk about Hinduphobia, we are basically far right supporters of the government of India and against caste protection of people who are oppressed due to caste. Then you've got Equality Labs. Equality Labs is the group that is behind all of this false research that they've done. And look at the language. It's complete lie. None of us from Cohhe at all ever threatened violence or bigotry or gaslighting. In fact, we are now the victims of this. And without any proof of anything, they are calling us all these names. I want to especially draw your attention to the tweet from Blue Ray. This is the lady in the red is Isabel Wilkerson, who wrote that book on caste. And this is the famous comedian from South Africa. His name is Trevor Noah. And look what they are being taught. This is what the TDSB staff and board has been told, that caste is the bone of the monster and race is the skin of the monster. We finished protected laws for race and gender discrimination, but now the world has to deal with caste discrimination, which is the root of all discriminations. Just imagine, they keep saying it's not Hinduphobia, but look at the Hinduphobia there. They are blaming the Hindu tradition where they say in there, we don't agree. They say that caste originated in the Jati and Varna, then the Varna system. That's what they describe. It's in the video also when Yalini talked about it. So they are now blaming the Varna system as the root of all discrimination, meaning the root of all evil in the world. There cannot be a bigger lie than that. And we need to point that out. And you need to be aware of what is the big lie and deep conspiracy to as an attack on all people who come from South Asia. Can we go to the next slide, please? I'll quickly go over a few more. You all know that the Caste motion passed in Seattle, and Shama Sawant was the counselor at the city that made that motion, and she sent a letter to Tdsb to tell them that Cohhe was a right-wing fundamentalist group. We ordinary Canadian citizens fighting to protect our children from being gaslighted and called oppressors, we have now become fundamentalist right-wing Hindus, and this is the lies that they are telling about us and trying to defame us. Next, please. It's really, really troubling to see. So since the motion has been passed and was defeated, the original motion was defeated, they already had a toolkit. So they have a vast organization with 200 professors and all of these people. They had already written their email in preparation that it would pass, because in Tdsb, the work is done at the committee level, like in many organizations and in the government. It's the committee that listens to deputations and has a debate and passes things. And when it comes to the board, it's just a matter of rubber stamping it. So they had already prepared their materials, thinking that it would just pass. Well, because of our advocacy work and the community coming together to educate them how wrong this motion was, they actually made some mistakes in their postings. You will see on the left, Dalit Diva, who is the Tenmozi, who is the leader of Equality Labs. She is trying to correct the post from Suhag Shukla and the Hindu American Foundation, congratulating our grassroots work. Not the next, no, yeah, it's stay on. Suhag is, they're congratulating us on our grassroots work that Tdsb did not implement the policy, to which she is replying that the motion passed. So, you know, they're having a difficulty acknowledging in public that their motion was, you know, really, really watered down, and what was passed was not implementation, but a referral of this matter to the Ontario Human Rights Commission. And on the other side, you'll see the Poetic Justice Foundation, one of their co-organizers. They are talking about that Sadan, which is the community group that's led by Professor Jangam here in Canada, is going to develop momentum for this motion along with many academic and community organizations, including World Sikh Organization, and move together to create curriculum and caste oppression education and professional development. So they forgot, or they to change their you know, toolkit, that was not going to happen, that Tdsb is not going to be you know, implementing this. So you see how they're spreading misinformation and causing confusion as to what was passed and what will be happening, because the intent is to spread this misinformation and influence decision makers across Canada, because that's what their plan is, to take it across Canada. Next, please. This is another, Audrey Triske, everybody knows about how much she hates Hindus. And look, she has been asked to comment on Tdsb and call us names, and some other organizations. So this, I want to end with this. You know, we are being, next slide, please. So I want to end my section with this: why you should be, as a community member, as a South Asian, we don't like that word, but we are being forced to use it, as a Caribbean, why you should be concerned, because they're targeting our children. This is so hurtful, and it really is scary that our children in school might be targeted with prejudice and hate because of their place of origin. And then it's singling out, we've spoken enough about that. And what they're trying to do is to institutionalize implicit bias through the policy. So it's like it will be taught as policy. So it's not a personal opinion. This is the position of the Toronto District School Board, and they're trying to bring it across. They falsely claim, we need to be all aware that they're claiming caste oppression is taught in Hindu Dharma. We really need to make an effort to re-educate the trustees that caste is not taught in Hindu Dharma. They also claim, again, I pointed out in the previous slide, that the root of anti-Black and anti-African racism is the caste system as in Varna. So they're blaming everything. Can you imagine our Black brothers and sisters who are facing racism? We are a part of the minority group. We are the racialized minority, and we are being pitted against each other and being told that, listen, these South Asians, they're the ones who are the root of this racism against you. This is so unbelievable that they can say it. But the thing is, it's been said for a while, and we've been sleeping and we didn't know about it. The whole movement is driven by activists, academics, and organizations. This is something we stress to the Board of Education, that this is not something coming to you by concerned parents. This is not a group of parents saying, hey, listen, we're very upset that our children are being oppressed, calling names or whatever form of oppression is happening to our children. Please protect them. This is not coming from local parents. This is coming from this organized machinery that teaches all this, lack of better words, incorrect and garbage, I would call it. This is information and creating prejudice against our community. This is a test case. They were hoping that if they brought it into the Tdsb, that being the largest board in the whole of Canada, that it would be a shoo-in in all other boards. So that's what they were hoping to do. And then it would also become easy for them to bring it into organizations, into corporations through the diversity. And so this was a plan, and they're really, really angry that that train was stopped at the station and it's not going to roll on this track for now anyways. It's been sent to the OHRC, which becomes a legal matter, and it has implications for schools, in your workplace, and in every place that you go. You walk down the street, people are going to look at you and say, oh, you're South Asian, you're from India, so you have caste. So they're going to drop this bomb on you every time they see you. You can see how dangerous and hurtful and mean this kind of language is. And they keep telling us that we are the ones who are gaslighting them. But guess what? We are being gaslit for no reason. What gaslighting is, making you feel guilty about something you never did. We've never hurt anybody, but we are being told that we're oppressors just because we belong to, we've come from India, or our heritage, our children who were born here by having their heritage are being declared as oppressors. So you can see how unreasonable and unfair it is, and no human rights code allows this. Currently, the Human Rights Code, all of the categories under the Human Rights Code, which is like race, gender, ethnicity, country of origin, disability, sex, gender, all of these apply to everyone. So they are called facially neutral, but this motion that they're trying to add as a category singles out one community. And I can't see any human rights advocate or the government supporting singling out of one community, a micro community in Canada. Thank you so much. Next one, please. I'll transfer over.
Veda
So
Veda,
Vedaji.
you can
Vedaji.
unmute yourself, Veda.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, so I'm on now?
Yeah, you are
Yes,
on now.
please
Please go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay. I'm from Guyana. I've been in Canada for over 50 years. So I'm quite familiar with the conditions of Indians or Hindus within the society. And I've never come across at any time any mention of casteism among us. I attend, for example, the VCC, the Vedic Cultural Center, where they have what I call the Toronto Arya Samaj. And it's two groups there. There are Indians and people from Africa who attend there, and the Caribbean people, mostly from Guyana. And the two intermingle. And I've never heard on either side anything like caste being talked about. But that's in a general sense. What I have encountered is that there are people, even in the Caribbean, for example, I wrote 2 books I mentioned earlier, and there was a black professor who said that Hindu Dharma was a cause of genocide of black people in Guyana. And I wrote this book here. I don't know if you can see it. Under Attack, the Caribbean Indian, to denounce her. And this was written back in 2009. What we had, then I wrote one in 2019. And incidentally, if you look at a picture on this cover here, you will see the people at the top, people off the boats when we went as indentured laborers. At the very middle, which you wouldn't very see, you'll see people still in their traditional Indian garb, dressed up and so on. At the very bottom, you will see a tin house, a shack, something like what I lived in until I was 9 years old. And you will see women working in the cane fields. I don't know if you're seeing all of that.
Veda, just lift it up a little bit up, just a little higher. Yeah, go further down. Yeah, there. Just a little bit more. Show the bottom of the book. You're going up, opposite direction.
Oh, this way?
Yeah, go further up, up. Yeah, there. Okay, there. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
The point is, if we in the Caribbean became off the boat, you can see the dress and everything like that, and we worked in the cane fields, we replaced the slaves there. And this started 185 years ago, in 1838. So we were all, as I mentioned to someone who was teasing me, a convert, evangelical Christian. He called me a Dalit this week. I showed Dr. Ragini this his email, and I said it's no problem. In fact, I listed a whole set of reasons why I am a Dalit. You know, we used to run after the cows in the mornings, for example, and scoop up the fresh cow down. So my mother would use it with clay and daub our house where we lived in. Because I lived in my first 9 years in a house where it was slave quarters, and the bottom, the floor was clay, and when rain or we had flooding, we were challenged. We had to skip into water just to get into bed. So we daubed these places with cow dung and just as you probably have done in India, because that's where they would have learned it, and our home was just as we said, like here in this one here, this is where I lived in approximately for 9 years. So we have lived a Dalit lifestyle. We did everything. We worked as slaves. As I said, we replaced slaves. And I have quotations in my book on these issues. So to be now stigmatized as caste oppressors is contrary to everything that we grew up with or we do. And I don't know where they got the idea to put that in, caste suppression, except the man who wrote me an email quickly and called me a Dalit. He was teasing me, actually, and this evangelical Christian. He attended that meeting, the Tdsb, and I'm asking him this very morning, answer up, how did you know that meeting occurred? Because I have a feeling he might be one of the people who got that thing put in. Anyway, that's on him. So what I've done, I have written this book. It's 300 odd pages. You see this, the format, it's big. If I put it any other way, I can put it about 500 pages. And I wrote this in 2019, fighting off the very same thing about casteism. Because the gentleman who made the statement, which is what I'm rebutting in this book here, is a professor, an Indian, a Guyanese professor, Indian, but he's not a Hindu, as I'm told. I think he's a Anglican or something like that. And he said that when we went to Guyana, we took the caste system there and made the blacks the untouchables. So I couldn't stand that, and I decided to write this book here. It took me 5 years to put together in 2019, and to disprove him. And in this book also, I have 50 pages on the caste system, where I've shown, quoting Dr. Ambedkar from one of his books, not this one. This one I'm currently reading for my rebuttal of Isabel Wilkerson. I'm doing a book on that, actually. So I'm using this Ambedkar's book, Who Were Shudras. But in an earlier book, he specifically mentioned, and I have it in the first book I showed you just now, that untouchability started with tribal society. It's not a Hindu concept. He specifically mentioned that, and I have it quoted in my book. I can send you the quotations. I'd sent it earlier, I think, to Dr. Rodini. I have some sections there. So it is utterly falsehood that we are now assigned this business, that we are castes. The other thing that I mentioned in the book there, in the 50 pages, is how the extent of the current caste system in India came about. It was ossified by the British during the censuses.
Vedaji,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you. We only had a short time.
Are we there now?
We will have, yes. What
Yes,
we'll
so-
do, Vedaji, is you're a wonderful historian. We will do a special webinar just with you, so you can tell us a little bit more. We only have an hour, so we have 15 minutes left. Yeah, so we're going to move on to the next. And thank you so much for coming.
So I just
we're
wanted
grateful to hear your voice, and we would like to move forward, and we will revert to you and do a special show just so you can tell us more, because you're a treasure of knowledge. Thank you so much.
Sure, but I just want to explain that at the back, we are not Dalits. Sorry, we are not against Dalits. We were Dalits. We lived a life of Dalits. So I just want to leave that with you. And I've written, I've explained why. Thank you again for allowing me to be on. And I'm very, very concerned about what is taking place. Very, very concerned. And I will do anything I can. I'm more aged than most people here, but I'll do anything I can to help. As I said, I'm currently writing a book to rebut, which I'll have out later this year, Isabel Wilkerson. I have her book here, you see?
Yeah, we'll move on with that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, next.
I think, Aruneshji, I think we should have, before Q&A, there is next steps, and then we have Q&A.
Okay, we can go to that. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, Q&A and next steps are quite related, because I think hearing so far what we have heard, all of us have heard, you have a lot of questions that you've been typing here. So quickly and briefly, if we can share high level what the next steps are. So for the organization, Cohhe itself, we're working with the TDSB and other boards to understand the next steps. We're working with other boards specifically just to know what's going on there. Are they considering anything, on caste oppression? Are they going towards like what TDSB took the path? Are they thinking or going towards that? So we're testing the waters as well and working with them as well on this one. And we're also working, we're engaged with a legal or law firm to get a legal perspective, which is very important in this case, both from the human rights perspective, as well as from the gaslighting that has been happening on Cohhe itself and its members. We just want to make sure, we are looking at what our options are, so that we can continue with this cause. In terms of the community support, there's a lot that you as a community member can do and help. We're appealing our community members to be vigilant and be aware of what's happening in the community, what's happening at your workplace, in school boards, where your children go. Make sure you have that information, ask the right questions, probe a little bit, and feel free to reach out to any of the Cohhe members. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and you can share that through those channels as well, through social media channels as well with us. Spread that awareness and education. As you learn and know, spread it. There are a lot of resources available. Feel free to leverage them. Be a proud Hindu and don't subject yourself to that ethnic profiling by sharing your caste information. As we talk about our caste or mention it, the opposition might construe it as your supremacy or an expression of oppression. So just make sure that we are talking about, we are Canadians. Yes, we are Hindus, but we are Canadians, and there is nothing as caste in Canada. If you or someone you know has faced any Hinduphobia incidents, please do share those with us. A link will be shared over an email with everybody. Again, follow Cohhe and Cohhe on Twitter and on Facebook. Now, we've been talking about this. We already know that human rights policy can cover caste oppression under, the place of origin, ethnic origin, and ancestry. And we strongly believe that this motion is against the basic foundation of human rights. It's divisive politics that's playing here and targeting South Asians and Caribbean communities. So like I mentioned earlier about the legal perspective, we're working with a law firm to get that legal perspective and opinion. So we need community support in this cause and also to file a defamation suit. So any way you can support, that's highly appreciated, whether it's by volunteering or, through your kind and generous donations. We do need money to support this cause and move this forward, fight for our rights. In Canada, unfortunately, we have to fight for our rights in a multicultural country, but we do need your support. So please donate generously and kindly. That's all I can say at this moment, and we will now have the Q&As through the Q&A section itself. So please type up your questions and we will try to address the answers here. Thank you.
So, yeah, Diptiji, Arunesh, if you can bring on. So the question that came in Q&A, I think we answered most of them. Right now, there is no outstanding question. Now, we have 9 minutes. If we can go to, if there's any outstanding question, specific one, we can take up. But I think most questions we answered there. So yeah. So if we can, yeah, you can take to closing remarks. I can take that up. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. So just want to give all of you a. First of all, let me tell you. Just one moment. Let me just bring up myself here. Yeah. Arunesh, you can bring me on the spotlight. I think my picture is not there.
Vijayji, you are already there.
Perfect.
this podcast section.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you. Okay. And yeah, and let's see if any question comes. I think Dipti ji or we can take up that question. Otherwise, I will just talk about the closing remark and then and we'll wrap up the session. So, very first thing I would say that we are very glad that you. I mean, we weren't expecting that we're going to have such a huge volume, such a huge number of people joining the call today. So this is really good thing. We see that we are concerned, and we see that there are concerned people who are joining this call. We'll the same video we'll make it live on. We'll make it available on our YouTube channel. We did the Facebook live also. Some people were watching on Facebook too, and we will share with other people, make them understand. It's very important right now. The education is very important for all of us to understand what's going on around us. Okay, stay connected with us. It's important. I mean, so we will have a very quick mechanism up where we can circulate our newsletter. But however, right now we have our Cohhe 2 as our Twitter handle. And we have a YouTube channel, and where you can reach out to us. Our email address info@cohhe.org. You can send us an email. Staying connected with us is important, and not only basically in Toronto area, but across Canada, right? I mean, you can see that what Ragini was showing. The articles are written for even for BC also, and this machinery is now applying this whole thing on BC side. Of course, they are spreading misinformation there, but at least that can give them some ground. Same thing happening in Calgary, in one of the university there. They are trying to bring the caste operation there. So it's important. If anything you need, reach out to us. We can sit together. We can help you, and you help us. Take ownership of your children and next generation. Be vigilant, as Dipti ji was mentioning. See what kind of surveys are, what kind of things are coming for your children in the school. In PDSB, the survey came up, right? And we have been following up with PDSB Peel Board. Like we were not consulted as a community what kind of questions they are asking in survey. So be vigilant about that. Push back on those kind of a thing. Connect with us. Talk about that. Legal consult. This is very important part. Legal consultation needs money. It's like that nothing is free, and this is like a human rights lawyer we have to go to, and they're big lawyers, not small lawyers. A lot of money involved. So far, like what letter we wrote, it was completely legally vetted. We spent our hundreds and hundreds of hours, plus all the money was spent. Most money was spent by the Cohhe board. Of course, I mean, like we have our obligations too, but we need community support to help us. If you donate us, of course, we are non-profit. We are not charitable. However, we are non-profit because we are advocacy group. So you can donate us through Interact email transfer to our info@cohhe.org, or you can go to our website cohhe.org. There is you can donate through credit card, PayPal. It's important because we need money, to be very honest, right? I mean, we can't keep on putting time also and money from our pocket and think of, okay, and we are only, you can see that only 5 board members are here, right? So you can imagine basically how much, how big is the battle and how small we are and what kind of a community support we need. And this is important, okay? I do not talk about temples here. I've been in temples. I'm a devout Jain. I do all the puja and everything. I do that. So I have great love for temples. However, this is a fight. This is a battle for dharma and civilization. I don't know how the temples role they are playing in this battle. I don't want to talk about that. However, I must say that this advocacy group is doing we need money similar to what temples need. So donate to us similar the way you donate to temples, because we are the ones advocating for dharma and civilization. So I mean, again, I will leave up to you, but it's more important. So I think that was the closing remark from my side. If anything else, if question came up, there are 3 questions came up.
Vijayji, maybe we can take the question, how can we donate, right? So that's a prominent question. I think we should take that.
Yeah. No, thanks, Arunesh. Yeah. So our Interact email ID, info@cohhe.org, Cohhe, Cohhe, right? So that's our, you can do the Interact email transfer there. And you can go to our website, cohhe.org, and there is a PayPal, there is a donate button. You can donate us through credit card or PayPal account, whichever way works out. So Yeah, both ways fine with us. We definitely need money. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, just I was talking to yesterday to our board. So we stopped this train. You can imagine that. I mean, like they had a plan of implementing this the caste-based operation and curriculum and census and everything in Tdsb immediately, like right in this month, next month, right? And we stopped it. We mean with the help of the entire community, we stopped this, right? Now imagine there are 1,000 parents in Toronto. I'm talking South Asian and Caribbean. If we donate only $10 each parent donate us, we will be easily get $10,000. We can do that legal consultation. We can fight this battle. I mean, think can be that small. Or of course, we know how many people can donate us, but the people who can donate, please donate us.
There's a question, Vijay. You can answer that in collaborating with CHCC. Can you answer that, please?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, we will. We would love to collaborate with all the organizations, CHCC. I mean, for example, the Canadian Hindus for Harmony. The people came for the even for the demonstration also, and they are helping big time. They are donating money also, and that I mean, they are. And same thing goes with the CHCC also. They wrote a letter. I know that Hindus for Harmony wrote letter. So I'm very glad people are helping us, and we reach out to Ragini ji, myself, our board. We can definitely. I mean, this meeting itself, I see that the people from different organizations joining here. That shows the collaboration. We are big time working towards the cause. We are less in the organization, more towards working towards the cause. So love to work with all the organizations who want to work with us.
There are many other questions already posted. I'm just wondering, were they answered publicly or?
Yes, we have answered most of them.
They were answered publicly.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one question directed at me directly.
I think we are at the top of the hour now.
Yeah, okay.
We would like to thank everybody.
You can reach us at, you can write to me directly at raginisharma@cohhe.org. Thank you.
And we'll be sending out an email to everybody who agreed to join this webinar. Please do share your, any Hindu-phobic incidents that may have happened to you. We are collecting a database. We are making a database.
We should do a prayer and then wrap up. Okay.
Thank you.
Sarve Sukhinah Bhavantu, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukh Bhag Bhaved. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, everyone.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.
Sukhna Bhavantu.